Hey, hi everybody. I'm so sorry. I got distracted by my dog who just walked in the room and he was limping because he went out on a long walk in the middle of the day and he's, what, 11 or 12 years old. Anyway, so this is What is the Ask? We're in week, I don't know, maybe 2020 by now. It's five friends that come together. Once a month and twice a month actually, and we just want to talk about things that are relevant and important to Black folks. We have about a year before the next presidential election, and Black folks really need to start talking about the issues that are important. And there is a lot going on, and I happen to think that the Black strategy needs to be evaluated and implemented as soon as possible. So, what is the ask? And tonight, instead of the other the three guys, you've got Mona and me here in Tampa. So, hey, Mona, how are you?
I'm doing great for a Tuesday. How are you?
Wow, it is a Tuesday, isn't it? But there's a lot going on in the news since we've last
It's a
talked.
lot. Yes.
Probably, yeah, probably the most, and not going to call it the most important thing, but the thing that struck me the most was the whole Deion Sanders factor, the impact that he's
Yes.
having. And when I see something or someone like Deion Sanders go into what is traditionally a white space, because I want to talk about white spaces that we've been sort of barred from. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Go in and then not only show up but show out. And he
Mm-hmm.
does it. He understands the rules of the game, but he does it in a way that truly embraces who we are as African Americans here in this country. Because usually, when we go into white spaces, we have to tamper ourselves down, and I think we call it code switching.
Are
Homeboy,
performing.
or performing, but Homeboy is not code switching or performing at all. And there's
Yeah.
a lot of opinions out there, Black and white folks, about what he's doing and the impact that it actually has on not just football, but on, I think, America in terms of Black people and how we show up in white spaces. You got some thoughts on that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like the fact that he is who he is and not trying to conform to the way they think a head coach should be. Particularly, was it the second game or the third game where he lost,
They lost
and the
third.
guy was and the guy was throwing out little hints about who they thought he was, and everybody know who he is because
Right.
he is the same person he was from whenever he started out, and I like that, and America is afraid of what's coming. That's the problem. They're afraid of
They're
what's
afraid of
coming. Now they
they're afraid of what's coming with Dion, or they're afraid of what's coming in terms of the impact he is having on us.
both, both. They're afraid of more blacks coming into head coaching, more blacks taking their positions. Um, I saw something on TV, and I just can't remember where I saw it at. And the guy said, you know, they're the majority on the football team. Now they're going to be head coaches.
I
Then
said,
they're going to be, where are we going to be?
yeah. Wow, that's probably
In
one
the,
of the most profound statements ever. That was the statement.
Yes.
That was it.
And after a while, we should take over this if we're the majority, start our own teams, push them out. Yeah. And that's
Well,
what they're afraid of.
you're saying start our own teams and push them out. I think that we can likely um, go into the game as it is today and take it over, which is what
Yes.
they're
Yes.
afraid of. That's what they're afraid of, because I think there are a lot of established institutions, if you will, in the country. And when we enter the ones that we've been barred from, we pretty much dominate. And they see that
Yes.
happening, but we still kind of hold something back. You know, Simone Biles, even
Yes.
Venus and Serena, all of them. We still kind of hold something back because we have to go with their norms. But Dion has stepped forward to say, I'm not only the best, and I know it, and my kids know it because I'm raising those kind of kids. And now I'm coaching kids to also have that kind of a self worth. Um,
Yes.
I'm going to be myself and break those norms. You know, I'm going to win and do it on my own terms. And so they've seen us win, but they haven't seen us win on our own terms 100%. And that's what Dion is bringing in. I think it's scaring them. It's scaring them.
And we can't really do it like that when you don't really have control. Now we'll see how far this plays out because the powers to be, if he gets what's the word?
Too
Too
big?
uppity, as they say.
Yeah, too big. Yeah.
Big, too uppity, um, making them feel small. We'll see. We'll see.
We'll see, but consider this. And you ain't got your two buddies with you, so I'm gonna just go like consider this, Mona. Um, maybe Dion, for such a time as this, is supposed to be doing and pushing that envelope a bit further
Absolutely.
in our own
Yes.
terms. So it almost doesn't matter what they might do to respond because the door has been opened. And now we see a black coach coaching black boys and white boys, but black boys,
Mm.
and he's telling them it's okay the way you look, the way you talk,
Yep.
the way you think. All I'm asking you to
Yes.
do is perform the way we expect you to perform. And those boys are living up to that. And I don't
Yes.
think they've ever seen that before.
Because you know what, Jeanette? With these young fellows, the average white coach really can't get what he's pulling out of those kids.
Exactly.
And he could pull it out of them because he know where they come from, they look alike, they speak alike. He could pull the best out of them. He is getting 110, 20, 30% from them every day. They are showing up for him every day.
Every day.
And and this is just going to be, I see the way college football is going to change not only for the HBCs, every school where a black head coach goes.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be these traditional coaches anymore.
Yeah. I think other black coaches are going to
Those days,
follow suit as well. They're going to follow suit.
absolutely.
Now they're a little bit stuck in that because there's so many baby boomers in particular that are kind of stuck in the norm, the white norm, thing.
Yes,
But
yes,
we're just going to see more and more, even the players are going to demand a coach that really does, especially a black coach that really does push them to the top, to their excellence, and to expect more
yes.
from them, and they will expect more from themselves. So I see a shift, and yes, it is one that I think goes beyond football, and I think it's
Hmm.
quite establishment. because Dion is that example that is now world known on
Yes.
just on head football coaching, period. I'm not alone, let alone his football career, but just on that,
Yes.
everybody is
Yes.
watching, and he's already beat the record from the previous year. So everything he wins is great, and if he loses, all he's got to do is don't lose by a blowout, right? And he did that.
Right.
He lost, and we
Yes.
still kind of felt like he won, right?
Yeah. I mean, like, I can't remember how many college football games I've watched. I'm sure I've watched one or two, but I have watched every one of his.
Yeah,
And the
that's the
and
Dion
the
effect. That is the
yeah,
Dion
I
effect.
was on a cruise. We was on a cruise um, when the third one came on,
Uh-huh. Y'all watch.
and it was 38 of us,
Uh-huh.
and we found a room to watch the football game.
Mm-hmm.
All 38 of us,
Y'all
and
had to do
everybody was
that.
hoping. Yes,
I'm
yes.
sure you
So
had, yeah, and that's the Dion effect that, and it was the Tiger Woods effect. It was the Venus and Serena effect. Whenever they moved into, back to my original premise,
yes,
whenever they moved into white spaces, right? And they
yes,
learn the rules, and I keep saying this from week to week, and they learn the rules, the white man's rules, his norms, whatever. And then they said,
yes,
you know what? I'm gonna wear designer, tennis outfits. And if I can't do it at Wimbledon,
yes,
that's fine, but I'm gonna push the envelope everywhere else. And they did. And then they played in such a way that it forced the other players to up their power games. They did that.
absolutely.
Even before them,
They
the
did.
basketball players and the football players, as soon as we got in, we dominate. We dominate.
Yes, yes, yes.
And that's pretty
So
scary for white establishment.
it is, especially I would say particularly under two, tennis and the gymnastics, because that is designed was designed mostly for whites. I can remember when Venus and Serena first came out,
Yeah.
and I said I could never have the temperament that those girls had and their parents had. Keep pushing them and to make them show up week after week, because I would have cursed somebody out many, many times. And when she really had the flip out, I don't know how it took that long. I don't know the in your face cheating, and they still couldn't hold them down. They still couldn't hold them down.
They couldn't.
Even the commentators, you could tell when they're commentating, and they already know she's going to win. They just know going in. They know she's going to win.
Right.
And if she loses the first set, oh, they're feeling good. The
Yep.
commentators,
Yep.
and
Yep.
these are Americans. And she's playing a foreigner, but they're backing a foreigner. And
Yeah.
so this is where I get off and I say, I'm I might like everybody. I love America. How we gonna love them more than they don't love us. They deal with us. They do not love Black America.
I'm still thinking about it because I know we were talking about it early, and I'm gonna take your sentence, and they don't love us. That is true.
Mm-mm.
And evidence says, because we're at the bottom, we're
Yeah,
perpetually at the bottom.
yeah,
And everybody who
yes.
immigrates here, they look around when they get on the shores of the United States, and they say, I could go this way with them black folks, or I can go this way with those
Mm,
white folks. And 99.9% of the time, they go that way and try to be as white American as they possibly can.
Well,
People
I
like,
don't have a problem with that
but wait up.
because
The
everybody wants to be on the team.
They want to be what?
Every, everybody wants to be on the winning team.
Good point.
I would go that way too. I would go that. Why would I come in? I'm leaving hell, and I'm
Yeah,
gonna come over here and be in hell, or I could be in paradise.
yeah,
I
that's
could come over here and struggle, or I could come over here and conform and
yeah.
suck it up a little, move up. My children will move up. Their children will move up. I don't have a problem with that. But I just want everybody to know who everybody is. Now, you have we during tea and conversation, they were like, "Oh, well, we're not our ancestors," and I was thinking about that. Oh, I don't want to pay reparation for something my ancestors done.
That was
Okay,
it. That was a
only thing.
conversation. That was a conversation in tea and
Mhm.
conversation. Wow.
This just be stuff we're talking about, yes. And so I was thinking about it, and you people are your ancestors. You are, because you're doing the same thing. You just don't have us in physical slavery, but you still keeping us at the bottom. You still trying to depress us, and you still have the same thoughts as your ancestors. That blood runs deep.
Yeah,
They are the ancestors.
it's true.
They are who they are,
That's very
and
true.
we have to steer everything we get. They're not looking for, even if you was to look at moderates, progressive Democrats under this leadership. You look at Biden, who have all the power.
He doesn't have all the power, but keep going.
Well, he's the president. He have quite a bit of power,
All right, I'm not going to argue with
and
you.
I want him.
Finish your point.
And his point is he trying to uplift Black America?
Hmm.
Did you
So,
look at that video I sent you?
uh, yeah, but I'm as I mentioned before when you sent me a
But
video, I find her to be angry. Angry at whatever happened during the Biden primary when with Bernie Sanders. She still carries a lot of
yes,
anger, and that's what I see when I watch it.
but don't look at her. Just the content of it.
All right.
Was it not true? Was it not
Um,
true?
there's
Because
certain
two things
things.
could be true at the same thing. She is angry, but she is speaking truth.
She is angry and she's speaking truth, yes, because I think when I looked
Mhm.
at that, I said, if I singularly look at certain things, it makes me angry. I got that,
Sure.
and I'm not happy with the way that that's being done or treated. But I'm led to think, how do we as African Americans, and I'm not saying Black people anymore. I'm saying, how do we? Because I listen to Boule too. Boule is very specific. How do we as African
Yes.
Americans take control over, instead of giving our agency or giving our power to somebody else to solve our problem? How do we as African Americans solve the problem? You saw me and Albert going back and forth on Martin Luther King and Stokely Carmichael and whatever else. It's like, come on now. Those gentlemen, wherever they were coming from, whether the Black Panther or MLK with a more passive resistance type theory, they made things happen, and policy happened. Policy is where the real fight is, and we are nowhere near that. We're nowhere near getting policy done.
Well, you know why? I believe is because we're so divided now. See, back then we was segregated. We was all together,
And
and we all.
back then we were vast majority, well, we're still the majority, but there were Black immigrants were not necessarily here in the large numbers that they are now.
Sure. And what you can look at. and I noticed this a couple of years ago, that white America are trying to really replace ADOS with the black immigrants.
That's true.
If you see, they really have high positions because they're so grateful to be here. Until, because if you look at Joy Reid when she first got on MSNBC,
Yeah.
she has changed so much. She has been in America, and she's been in America for all of her life. I think.
Right.
I
She
think she was
has.
born here. Her
Yeah. She was
parents
born
came
here.
over from
Yes.
Africa. Okay, yeah, but you could tell her switch. You could tell have followed her,
Uh-huh.
and at one point, I I used to love her because she was African American, and then I was like, but she is really an African American,
Okay, but I
and
don't even call them
then
African Americans. I think we are African Americans because we don't
yes, I call it
we have to attach ourselves to a continent because we do not know the
yes,
country. Joy knows the country that she comes from, but she's no longer a
yes,
continental African American. That's us. We have to do that. She can be whatever she is. I don't even remember what place that she comes from, but she can attach to that, just like Nigerian Americans do. Nigerian Americans will tell you in a minute they are Nigerian Americans. They will tell you that.
yes,
Even Jamaican
yes,
Americans who also have African descendancy, they will tell you in a minute, I am Jamaican American. We're the only ones
because
who are confused.
it's a hierarchy there. Nigerians are supposed to be, I guess, higher up.
Then
Um,
who?
so yeah,
Educationally,
then
they are the most educated
then
people
people from
in the country. Educationally, the research says
yes,
they are the most educated
uh-huh,
people in the country. Now, if Biden wins, right, and Kamala becomes whatever, vice president is vice president and maybe ascends to the presidency because he doesn't make it all the way, that is very scary because she too is not African American. She is
yes,
Indian, Jamaican American. And then you've got all of these foreign Black people that are well educated who will be positioned because the Hispanics are not positioned educationally to take over. Black people are, and a big number of them are immigrants, not
yes.
not ADOS. They're not ADOS, and that's what we're not paying
Well,
attention to.
I said that under Barack. What I noticed that maybe his second year, and we kept saying, "Oh, we have our first African American," and he wasn't. If he was
Right.
really an Adolf American, he would never have been president. He was what they call safe. He was
That's
what
right.
they call
They're all safe.
yes, and
They're all
yes,
safe. Even
and
those that are dark as me, they are safe
yes,
because they talk a different
yes,
way. They
yes,
came into the country, just like we said, they came in the country and they looked over here and they said, I see them Black people. And then they looked over here and they said, I see them white people. And like you said, they want to win. They want to be on the winning
yes,
team. And over here,
yes,
while I can take advantage of some of those benefits that they get that's supposed to help them do better, I can take advantage of that, send my kids off to college,
yes.
whatever else. I'm really going to
Hmm.
be over here with them because the jobs that open, I'm going to be in place to get them. It's as
And
simple as
it's easy. It's easy for them to say, "Get over slavery," because they didn't live this life. And this is why I believe white America picks them, that they could push all that stuff, just
they don't
come
have the
into the
baggage.
country and move forward. Right. They don't have the baggage. Absolutely.
They don't have the
And
baggage.
I believe,
Yeah.
yes.
Well, that is true. And, I was even reading what Alton wrote in terms of here's what Black Americans need to do. And I just looked and said, because you know what Boulay says about immigrants that come in here and try to tell Black ADOS people what they need to do.
What to do? Yep.
And she
And
tells
I'm
them,
just like, if your country was so nice, why are you here? So it sounds stupid to me when they're coming over here and we want to leave there. It goes to show that nobody is never happy. I ain't trying to go to Africa. I want to visit. I'm going to Egypt on the 26th. Okay, I want to go visit these places,
and then come back
but
home.
I'm coming back to America because
And then
listen
come
here,
back home.
something ain't right that everybody is flooding into the United States. If it's so great, then why aren't you staying over there? Why don't you
So,
go build your own?
yeah. So, one of the things that um, I think that America is America, but democracy is worth fighting for is because, and I've said this before, I'm just going to say it again because I think it's what we miss. After the Civil War, Lincoln, who really kind of felt that we need to take the Africans and just send them back to create some place where they could go and do their own thing, and he was ready to get the ships ready and ship us all out because that's what he
Mhm.
felt. So when he sent General Sherman to talk to those preachers or reverends or whatever they were, you know what they said? They said, no, this is the country that we know. It's 250 years in now. This is the country where our ancestors have, blood, sweat, and tears. And so we just want some land. They didn't even ask for it for free. They said, just let us work the land and we will pay for it and then free and clear, blah, blah, blah. They And so Lincoln said, okay, we'll give you the land along the North Carolina, South Carolina, whatever coast, what have you, whatever happened. The issue is they said, we have as much stake in this country, probably more than
Sure.
anybody else. And
And I
we
believe,
to
and I
stay.
believe that.
Democracy
Yes.
isn't yours, it is ours, right? The
Yes.
problem is white folks did not like that at the time. And so they tried to keep democracy away from Black folks. So
Yes.
this is where I think the guys are right. We've never experienced true democracy. White people don't know they haven't either, but definitely we've never experienced true democracy because they worked so hard to keep us out, right?
Yes.
Moment
Yes.
we now have time because they know this. They see our children excelling. They're watching Fannie Willis and Tanya Chuckin and Letitia James and Alvin Bragg or whatever his name is. They're watching them go after powerful white people and put them in their place. They're watching that. And they're saying we have got to make sure that democracy is not ever in the hands of these Black folks because we will be in
Hmm.
trouble. We will be in trouble because we never really did it um, the way it was supposed to be. We have a chance, in my opinion, to get democracy right. Our kids can get democracy right. And it's starting already in the courts. It's starting, we see examples of our children pretty much saying to corporate America, Simone Biles, remember? You know what? I got the twisties. I'm not going to do that. All that money they had on the line, she did not think
Yeah.
twice. I'm sorry, I
Yes.
can't do it. And that's that. And they
Yes.
thought they were going to ruin her, but they didn't, did they? Because she's out there beating
Nope.
everybody's butt in Antwerp, Belgium right now, right? And she's doing
Yes.
it on her
Yes.
own terms.
Um, sure.
They don't
Yes.
like that.
That
Democracy, let me
that
tell
is
you,
true.
democracy, they have to kill it now before your children are the ones who actually make it happen for real. That's my thought.
Well, I hope that happens. I am hoping that happens. I'm hoping that happens for my daughter, particularly her children. I hope they're able to do it. But we have too many, in my opinion, gatekeepers who will not move aside or who would not let the young people come in. You help them, guide them. Maybe you don't have to sit down, but you're going to have to step aside and let them move democracy how they want to live the future. I just don't see it happening soon enough. I know it's going to happen. I just don't see it happen soon enough.
That's it probably, it's, Dianne Feinstein. I don't mean to like laugh like that, but Dianne Feinstein,
No, and even that's crazy. How did they allow that? Even
they
on the courts,
they
when
made
they
that
not
happen.
get rid of that one,
They didn't
when they wouldn't
allow
get
it.
rid of the one,
They didn't allow it to happen. They made it happen. And if I were those family members, I would really take them to task. My mama dying on the job practically. So 90 years old, too old. And I know that part of the cleanup will be her children will definitely start cleaning that mess up, right? But you've got on the Democrat side, two octogenarians who the Republicans have successfully vilified. And that's Nancy Pelosi at what is she, 84? And you've got my God, 81, the president, 81. They have successfully vilified them just because he's a stutterer and he's 81 years old. Like my mom, you saw her. What was she doing? She's 86. What was she doing on Saturday? What was she doing? What was Miss Patterson doing on Saturday?
she was out working us. She was
She
gardening.
was totally,
She
I
was
had to
shoveling.
tell her, go sit down. I had to tell her to go sit down. So
Out working us.
it's all relative. The problem is we and white folks in power are great at creating the narrative. That's one of the reasons I do art, because I want to change the narrative. They're great at saying, those black people, they can't they can't read, they can't think, they can't lead. They should just be sweeping your floors and whatever else. They have no business in Congress. They can't even vote. They don't know. They have created that narrative and now it's getting
Yes,
busted up right now, but that's
yes,
400 years later. It is now getting busted up now, and they're saying, oh no, now that people know that they aren't the most stupid people on the earth, we're going to have to make sure they cannot get democracy. And what the Republicans are doing right now, because if we don't let Biden be the transitional president, and it will transition likely into Kamala's hands. It will likely transition, and I'm not crazy about that, but she's not going to make me not vote for my kid's future. It will likely transition into her hands, and then we hope that she has the Dion effect, where she can impact policy in ways that benefit Black folks. I don't trust her, but that means I now have to trust me and you and other African Americans to begin pushing an agenda the way MAGA does, but pushing an agenda because we've got, she's that person in place and somebody's going to attach themselves to her, right? So MAGA saw Trump rise, and Trump saw MAGA, and Trump said, I can have some power up in here. All I got to do is make sure they get what they want.
yeah.
And he saw that through the Tea Party, and he watched it, and they both came together. That's a Kamala factor. But we have to be
Yes, but
smart and stop sitting around waiting for Biden to do for us. Get Biden in that seat. He's not, I mean, if he makes it all the way through, fine. If he doesn't, that's fine too, because we then need to start working those back rooms and starting to develop the plan, because it's really already kind of there in place. Kamala said, I ain't doing no reparations or whatever. I don't know what she said, but she said that. But we can give Kamala so much power with black folks behind her, but she has to know the deal. Because even when, and I'm going to shut up, even when Trump decided for the vaccine, I got my vaccine, and he tried to tell those MAGA people weren't hearing it. And he backed up and he said,
Yeah.
no. So he knows the deal. She will know the deal, but black folks have to get themselves ready for what could potentially happen, but you've got to get them in office. And then you've got to do the back work.
She's not going to do it. You see how Trump was a one-time president? Because if she gets in, if she becomes the president because Biden dies, then she's going to play it easy because she's got to run again. And she's going to be more to the right or stand in the middle, pleasing what they always do, pleasing white America.
But why
Now,
can't
rather that be
why can't you plan that though? Why can't you understand that to say, all right, Kamala, you're going to need to actually run, and we will totally give you our power base because the Democrats absolutely need us. So you're going to play these first couple of years and you're going to do these things, right? That you've got to plan that. You already know what the layout is. And if she knows that
sure.
she's got 20-something
And I would love that.
voting electorate, what?
I say I would love that, but
I know, but you got to.
I say sure. But look, when we had people, you remember, under Obama pushing him to do more, and then you had the other people, other black people saying, "Hey, he can't. Let's let him ride easy the first time. He needs to run again for the second time."
I know, but
it didn't happen.
You got to plan it. You've got to decide. This is how it's going to go, and it can't be everybody. It has to be a small group, and she has to understand that. But she's going to look like she may be giving them some stuff, and we know because that's part of the plan. That's part of the plan. You know, affirmative. You're gonna make DC a state. That's part of the plan. You may not do these other, but you're gonna make DC
other people. I don't care about everybody eating at the table. That's what I don't like when these white people say, "I'm not my ancestors." You are. All we want to do is eat and survive too. You can do what you want to do. Let us do what we want to do. I would love for her to be, if she became president, let them do whatever they want. But
no,
certainly,
she doesn't get to have a full term without the black voting electorate. And that's what you got to make clear. So you say, in this term for those 2 years, you're going to we're going to give you a Senate that will allow you to make DC an electorate, so DC a state. And when we do that, then that's 2 more senators you have, because we got to work the Senate. We have to work and get where it gives her some control. We then have to get judges on that Supreme Court, which would stop gerrymandering in its tracks, right? So we have to do a longer term game, and we have to decide what is the first step. The first step is Biden-Harris. That's the first step. And so if Biden make it and she becomes the president, then she has to understand, just like the Supreme Court, all of them, the Federalists put them there, and all they had to do was wait for those moments that they had to enact the plan. So I'm saying first step may not seem pretty to most people, but get them in. Something happens to Biden, he can't serve anymore. She's now in the driver's seat, and she knows that what she's got to do is work, and so does the Senate. The people that you get into the Senate, you're saying to them, our first move is to statehood, because we've got to grow that Senate. because we're actually going after the Supreme Court. You're going after the courts. You're going after the Supreme Court. And you're going to nullify all that power that they have. So I'm just saying, why are we not really why are we trying to, we need to get away from what the Republicans have decided was our issue, and that's his age. That's not our issue. In fact, it may work for us that he is as old as he is, because then you've got to work on the vice president who might ascend to the presidency, and then whatever that plan is has to get carried out. That is what they do. They don't look at, I like you, I don't like you, you're too old,
Sure.
son is this. We have to get away from that. That's all I'm saying. And I hear, I read what Black people need to, going back to Lady Boulay, if you are an immigrant, please don't tell me what Black people need to do, right? Because you do not understand what our psyche is. In fact, you probably are repelled by our psyche, right? Because when you got here, you tried to figure out how to get you and your family aligned with the winners. We know that we are not the winners. We know that. Right. We got it. But in the meantime, you have allowed us to educate our children. We have educated our children. And now when everything is crumbling down, you got to get rid of democracy, because our children are ready to step into those roles. And you cannot let that happen. And if we don't get a Biden-Harris in there with a plan of what is expected in the event that Biden is not able to finish, what a Black vice president must do, the first step in those first 2 years. And if that is statehood, that is what we're looking for. Between her and that Senate, we've got to get statehood. I don't really care about Puerto Rico, even though it's Democrat, but I need those people in that chocolate city to have a state where they have a vote say in what happens with the Supreme Court.
Sure. Right. And that's something they're working on. That's something they want. That should be something Biden, that should be something they're demanding right now that he makes happen.
He's not going to make that happen. You know why? He's not going to.
He haven't did any of the wish lists that we wanted. And if he did, you tell me.
I can't tell you that. So, but he's not going to make that happen, because the way that he got in, yes, the Black vote, but it was also the middle. The middle had to come home from the Republicans in the middle, and those Democrats in the middle, who I think eventually we're going to end up with 3 parties. And the middle is going to come together and probably coalesce around somebody like Liz Cheney. And by the next presidential election, Kamala Harris is going to be going against 1, 2, 3, the far right and the far left, and then it will be the middle. I truly believe that by that, it won't be this election, because I think independent votes are a waste of everybody's time and effort, because it's not attached to a larger plan. But by the 28 election,
independents decide one way or the other. They don't usually, most independents won't vote for the third party. They're either going to vote for a Republican or a Democrat, the majority of them.
I'm going to agree with you there.
So
I'm going to agree with you there.
Yes.
But I don't know. I just think that we have to figure out how to stop getting into what the Republicans want us to, and that's the personality politics. And we have to start saying, you know what? I'm an African American. These are our issues. And I think that the long-term plan for my child is to be president. or to be in the Senate or to be whatever. But if you don't have democracy, you're going to have an autocrat, a very Putin-like figure in the White House, and it will not be the same for them. They will not have the same rights. I don't know what it's like to live in Russia. I have no idea. But I don't imagine that folks are dying to get into Russia, but they're dying to get into here.
Yes.
And
Yes.
we're messing
It's
it
not.
up. And our
It's not
ancestors,
freedom.
our ancestors are the ones, black, not black, African American, who have been fighting from one decade to the next to
Mhm.
maintain democracy so that we could have it. And we're about to throw it away. That's what I think.
Yes.
We are about to say, well, we don't have any power. We're going to throw it away. I mean, I appreciate MLK. I appreciate Stokely Carmichael. I appreciate the Black Panthers. I appreciate all those folks who did in their own little way, even those, I think a lot of them were immigrants. Marcus Garvey, immigrant. Stokely Carmichael, immigrant, Black immigrants. Martin Luther King, not. And a few others that I kind of looked at were not. They were fighting from very different vantage points. But when it came to policy, and I think we said this before in an earlier session, you had those who were going to fight for the policy in the more passive way, who became more, the presidents opened the door to, because they didn't want to deal with those folks over there, the Black Panthers. They knew if they didn't deal with Martin Luther King, they were going to have to deal with the Black Panther, right? So having both is exactly how it was supposed to work. That may be different today. It may be different today. That's how
And no, I think we still need those that can sit down and talk, but those that need to be the bullhorn.
I agree. I agree. I agree. It was a very effective
But
strategy.
we certainly have to be under the same, because if you look at Martin Luther King, he started changing up
He did.
towards the end.
And
He
then
realized that this, and they killed it, this niceness. Now, imagine what could have happened if him and Stokey and Malcolm X and all them could have been on the same page. If he needed to be the one that out front,
the
and
white
if they
folks,
needed to be in
the white folks in leadership
yes,
could not let that happen. They could not, because again,
they
it's like,
they love to divide. They
yeah,
love to divide, and we keep falling for, even now we keep falling for the okey doke. When you have just here in our city, when you have the NAACP fighting with the Urban League or the
wow,
Black Caucus, or,
really,
and I'm not saying that they are, but all these people should be on the same agenda.
yep.
We all should be fighting, and let one person take housing, let one person take this, let one organization take this, and you bring your people, you bring your people, you bring your people. Of course, everybody wants to be the Indian chief, but you be the Indian chief of the people you bring, and let them work and then we come together. That's the only way it's going to work.
It is the only way. You're right, us coming together, but I think that there needs to be this big visionary plan of we're going to put the president in place, but the only reason we're going to do that is because we've got a Black vice president, and we sit down and we caucus with that Black vice president to say, and here's what this means, period. And if you don't, we will not back you in the election. You will not get our backing in the election. And that's it. But you got to be clear on the plan,
right,
the to-do list.
Right or wrong, when McCarthy got the Speaker of the House, he knew what he had to do. He didn't do it, and they ousted. And so the same thing here. I don't have a problem with Biden. He's not who I would choose, but he's what we got.
He's not who I would choose. Kamala is not who
But
I
he,
would choose,
well,
but
but,
what I'm
but
choosing
here's
is
what,
me. I choose me and
yes,
I choose you. And the way that
yes.
we
And
can better our lives is to choose them and to get on the same page.
what she will have to understand is, look at here, sister, and I'm going to call you my half sister. I'm going to use you to get what we want, and you're going to use us to get what you want. So, if you want a second term,
That's
you
right.
would do what we want. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with saying that and letting her know up front, this is what we want. But
Yeah,
I don't know,
yeah, you got to talk to them
whoever
AKAs because they're just like, you got to talk to them AKAs because
whoever our leaders are, I'm like,
they
what
were
do
so
y'all do?
excited
Come on.
about it. It was like, oh man, I really think this is going to be
Yeah,
bad. It's going to be bad for Biden because white people
yeah,
have already identified that if something happens to him, she is it. And they do not want that.
yeah.
Even the Democrats, they do not want that. I'm going to tell you, Nancy
They,
Pelosi and those, they would prefer that she is not in that seat, right? But she is, and
well,
they can't get a chance because they'll lose up.
female, the first female president, they don't want in the history books to be a black woman.
Well, I would like it to be an ADOS
That
personally, but that ship has sailed.
I do. I would too.
That
But
ship has sailed.
and I bet if she get in there, she's going to be saying, "I'm not African American." Well, she's not. I'm not black. She'll switch it up, and that'll be okay as long as you do what we want.
The thing about Kamala is she needs to say, I'm not African American and this is what this means. So I have these priorities, they have those. They're not one and the same. So come to us and ask us what our priorities are and don't dismiss them. She's been dismissing them and that is a major, major problem. But we are looking for, I think, the Dion impact to spread,
Yes.
and that is
Yes.
bold blackness in white spaces. That I'm not afraid of you, right? I know what I'm doing. I
Yes.
know what I'm doing. That's what he's
Yes.
saying. And even
Yes.
though you see this and you're going to tell me this is what's happening, I'm going to tell you what just happened. And that's going to be the story. That's what Simone Biles did. That's what they all
Hmm.
did. Not being afraid in white spaces that have traditionally been
Yes.
white spaces. When a black person comes in, you have got to demonstrate to the rest of us, I am not afraid. There are even white people who appreciate that. And we've got to get that as
Sure.
the
Sure.
new message.
Very few, but yeah.
Epitomizes it. What?
I say very few, but yes.
Yeah, we got about 3 minutes. So, I think that Deion Sanders is really an example that we need to look at and study. It'll be great if he has a winning season. I would just love it. But even if he
Well,
doesn't, he's demonstrating
he's going to
that
have a
even
win.
when you lose, you win. But he's demonstrating even when you lose, you win.
Absolutely, yes, and he will have a winning season. Anything he do is better than what he did. So what they played 13 games.
Say it again.
So yeah, I'm predicting 8-5.
Ooh, okay.
And that's a winning season. That's a winning season for him.
Predicting 8-5. I'm coming back to you on that. Do you want to put some money on it? No,
Yes.
I'm just
Well,
kidding.
I'm not a better,
I'm hoping
but
that is
I do
so.
$5.
But
Yes.
Some have said some have complained that Deion isn't doing it for the black race. He's doing it for himself. And I was like, and what's wrong with
So
that?
what?
Yeah. What is
So
wrong
what?
with that? All I'm saying is
I don't
you
have.
need to look at what he's doing and notice what you are not doing. And you know, when Beyonce gets on that
Right.
stage and her daughter is up there dancing
Yes.
to that song,
Yes.
and we all know her daughter's not that
Yes.
great a dancer, but she goes from city
Yes.
to city. That is what
Yes.
Black people need to do. I'm not going to apologize to you
Yes.
for me having my
No. Yes.
child and grooming my child to be great.
Yes.
I'm not going to apologize for it.
Take over.
That's
Take over where I'm going to leave. She will take over where she will leave off. This girl is already a multi-millionaire.
yes.
Her
She's
daughter.
a baby
Yes.
multimillionaire. So I'm
Yes.
saying that I'm not saying you got to love him or whatever, but watch what he's doing. Stop dogging it out and look at yourself and figure out, what am I not doing that allows me to move
Mm-hmm.
in those white spaces in ways that I'm comfortable with. And I think that's pretty much all the time we have. Mona, I know the guys weren't here, but you know, I hate to say I enjoyed it without them, but
It was a good conversation.
huh?
Yes.
But
It was a good conversation. Yes.
yeah, fabulous conversation, and I guess we wait. It's week after next because we're back on schedule. Is that right? No,
Yes.
on schedule.
No, we're off schedule.
We're off schedule, so maybe we get together next week.
Yes.
That will get us
Because
back.
we was doing the second and fourth Tuesday.
Okay, so we'll get back.
Unless you want to do the first.
That out to everybody. All right, thanks a lot,
Unless you
Death.
want to do the first and third Tuesday.
I really don't mind either. It's just a Tuesday, so I don't mind. But
Yeah, I'm good.
from now on, even if one
Okay.
person shows up, we're talking. All right.